Welcome to a bitterly cold Bedfordshire. It's January, so we're a couple of months out from the Geneva Motor Show, but McLaren has gathered us here to show us, well, something new and very exciting, and presumably very big. I'm 6'5", it's not like I'm short.
These huge buildings were constructed as hangars for airships. This one is now more often used for creating film sets, for cinema blockbusters like Batman. Today, however, McLaren's blockbuster is this, the new 720S. It's quite a departure from what McLaren's done before, I think you'll agree. Instantly some things jump out at you, like the socket headlights, the apparent lack of side intakes, and the airy cabin that's been made possible by the new Monocage 2 structure. They were clearly and understandably excited about unveiling this second generation Super Series car, and while we were at the preview, we took the chance to talk to two of the key players in its development. First up, Mark Vanells, who is Executive Director of Product Development. I wanted to ask him about the new suspension.
It's something I'm quite pleased with because we kicked it off about 6 years ago and really a sort of blue sky activity as part of research to look at how we could better control and optimise the performance of the chassis. I mean, the chassis performance was pretty good anyway, so how can we make a step change? And this is pretty advanced mathematics, looking at optimal control theory for trying to optimise under all conditions. We have a state estimator which is estimating the condition and optimising the position of the car, and we're optimising the contact patch performance from all four wheels, which allows us to really achieve the maximum level of grip, but also achieve this level of chassis compliance and comfort as well. It's a big step for us, and I think it's something that's, as I said, because we kicked it off as prime research about 6 years ago, it's really nice to be able to bring it to the marketplace. But it's important to say that we haven't, with all the clever stuff and the clever controls, we're still very much focused on the driving experience. So everything that we've tried to do is to enhance that driving experience. So even though the car's got more grip, we didn't want to destroy steering feel. So the changes that we made to the front of the car with steering geometry are all there to give you that rewarding steering feel. So when you load up that outside tyre, you can feel the load building up, you can feel the resistance on the steering wheel. If the grip levels change on the road surface, you can feel that through the steering wheel. And even with these levels of grip and the slightly larger front tyre, continue to focus and search for that texture feel and that feedback from the road surface. That's so important for the driver, just to be engaged in that driving experience.
So with me now I have Rob Melville, who's Chief of Design at McLaren. Thank you very much for joining us, and I think you're going to talk us through sort of some of the key design elements of the car, and sort of start at the front, I suppose, with the eye socket.
Absolutely, that'd be a pleasure. I think before we go into the key features, I'd just like to say that as a team working on this project, we knew this was the right project for us to create a new chapter in our design language and really create a new face, a new look for all McLarens that are going to come in the future. But the first key feature is this one here. We call this the eye socket. And you can see we've been able to integrate the dynamic LED headlamps into this opening, and this opening actually helps to cool. And they also act as part of the aerodynamic system, improving cooling and airflow to the low temperature radiators in the front here. You can also notice the upright lens. This is quite unusual for a supercar, but the reason we did this and took this approach was it means the light output, the quality of the light output is like nothing before. On an angled lens, the light has to go through a much thicker section of lens, whereas here it's just going through the minimal amount. It means the quality and the visibility down the road, high-speed driving, is out of this world. It's just incredible. Okay, then the next key feature, well, in fact, the key question was how do you cool 720 PS without any visible side intakes? Our answer was to unpeel the door. We've created two skins. And the reason we've created this extra outer skin is it allows us to separate the high energy air flowing over the top into the HTR intake, high temperature radiators. And at the same time, because we separate the airflow, we're able to take this turbulent air coming off the front wheel and tuck that into the body side. And because we're able to tuck that in, it makes for a very low drag design. So very efficient in terms of cooling and very low drag. And absolutely fantastic and a beautiful piece of a sophisticated sculpture as well. Whilst we're here, just open the door. If you move around to this side, you can just see now we've taken the doors up and into the roof. Yeah. This means we've got a very wide opening, very easy to step in and out of the car. Also, the other key feature is the doors now open 15 centimetres closer to the body. So tight parking space is no longer a problem. You can go down to the shops in it as well. Yeah. And as we move further around to the back, you'll see we have this full width, fully integrated active rear wing and air brake.
This is huge.
This is huge.
It's absolutely enormous. It's even bigger than the 675 LT,
It's huge.
isn't it?
30% more downforce than the 650. We also have the twin centrally mounted exhausts, LED light blades, 4.5mm thicker piece. And then up on the rear deck here, you can see into the engine bay, and it's also illuminated, so even at night you can see into that fantastic engineering detail. And now, as we move around to the interior, there's another key point actually, which is the incredible glazed C-pillars. So, on this car, as you know from chatting earlier, we have the monocage 2, so the carbon monocage. And we're able to take advantage of the carbon by having these very slender structures that run through the C-pillar and down the A-pillars, so the visibility in this car is through the roof. You have this incredible feeling of being sat inside a canopy, yeah, quite literally. It feels like you're in a jet fighter or a helicopter, and it really makes the cabin very light, airy and open. And whether you're on the track or on the road, this connection with your environment and where you were driving just makes it like nothing before. It's absolutely incredible.
Here are the essential numbers. 710 brake horsepower, 568 pounds-foot of torque, 0 to 62 miles an hour in 2.9 seconds, 0 to 125 miles an hour in just 7.8 seconds, and a top speed of 213 miles an hour. It has 50% more downforce and 10% less weight than the 650S it replaces, and the new P0 tyres are said to have as much grip as the old Trofeos. There are 12 additional sensors in the new proactive chassis control too. Round a track, the test drivers have often found that they've been a gear higher than in the mighty 675 LT. That is insane.
Of course, whilst we can talk about things like power and 0 to 60 time, they won't really become relevant until we actually drive the car. However, this monocage 2, which yes, obviously reduces centre of gravity and all that, you can tell the benefits of that just by sitting in here. I mean, it reminds me a bit of the Zonda when it first came with that amazing sort of airy cockpit feel with these lovely narrow A-pillars, and of course you can see the carbon fibre on the inside there. Elsewhere inside, well, it's a proper step up in terms of quality. All these are now metal instead of plastic, which is nice, and this screen, the way it folds away, it's a stroke of genius really. So simple, but best things are. They've also changed this so it's no longer Iris, it's also a much bigger screen here, and you can flip the apps up to the main screen there if you want to. Drift app too.
The engineers reckon they've cracked the emotion in the soundtrack emitted from the now 4-litre twin-turbo V8, and yet McLaren is also keen to push the comfort credentials of this car. It is, they say, incredibly usable, with the new sills and doors making ingress and egress easier, while the ride in comfort mode makes long journeys a breeze.
So hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight into the 720S, and it should be pretty phenomenal. Just talking to the test drivers and the engineers behind it, I think even they've been surprised by just how fast this thing is. I suppose we're hoping that it still has a bit of that involvement and sort of drivability that 675 and 570 cars have displayed in recent times. The look, well, I think it's one of the shapes that gets better the more and more you look at it. It's all in the details. From the side, it's almost a bit NSX-like, I suppose, with this dark canopy over the top, but I love this low rear deck, which we first saw on the McLaren P1. So there we go. I suppose the proof will be in the driving, which hopefully we'll get to do very soon indeed.